Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We have a super exciting topic this week because I mentioned it in my video last week, but I went on a week retreat last week to Ireland. I went to a spa hotel, I switched my phone off, I took loads of journal notes and a notepad, and I just kind of sat with myself for a week. And honestly, the realizations I've had, the things I've learned about myself, the reflections I had, were so necessary and so helpful. So I want to talk you through what I did, why I did it, and what I learned today, because I think everyone needs to do this at least twice a year. It was phenomenal, such a good experience. And B, I feel like we live in this rat race of rushing everywhere and living at pace and living under pressure. And the things that I got out of just switching off for a full 5 days were phenomenal. So yeah, let's get into it. Before we do get into it, if you don't already, please subscribe to my channel, please comment on these videos, and please like them, because it does really help to grow and help these videos to get out further. And my one goal for this is to build a community of people like me and like you who are watching this video, so that it can go further and so that we can have more and better conversations. So yeah, if you are enjoying the videos, please subscribe to my channel. Let's get into it. If you follow me on any of my channels, I'm not amazing at posting on social. I am going to start posting more, but if you do follow me, you will know that I'm quite into mindset, I'm quite into self-development, but in a realistic way. And I have wanted to go on a retreat for the longest time. I've wanted to go and switch off and just be forever. I live in the city, my job's fast-paced, my life's fast-paced, and I myself am quite slow. I'm quite a slow human being, and it doesn't sound like it, and it might not actually look like it to the outside world, and I do understand and appreciate that, but I like calm and I like zen and I like a slow pace. And so I crave a bit of balance, or I get to a point where I'm at complete burnout, which is why I went. And I just completely want to shut down. So last year, again, if you follow me on LinkedIn or you've listened to any of my previous videos, you will know that last year was a big career year for me. It was huge. YouTube is going really well, I'm growing, the channels that I look after are growing, my knowledge is growing, my experience is growing, my community is growing, and it's all really good. However, I got to the end of last year and I literally thought, I cannot go anymore. I have given everything and then some this year, and I'm fucking exhausted. I wasn't miserable, but I was feeling really heavy every day, and I just wasn't looking after myself, and I wasn't putting myself first, which is obviously what I talk about in these videos. So I need to practice what I preach at times, and we all do, right? But yeah, last year just kind of took its toll. And I thought, I'm not going to do the first week of January. I'm going to do a couple of weeks in where I've got my head around the new year. I kind of know what I want to do. There's not this pressure of new goals, new you, new vibes, whatever. And I can just have a week where everyone's back in the swing of things and I just take a step back to just be. And it was amazing. So I wanted to do this retreat idea, and I've looked at loads of retreats. A, they are so expensive, and B, there are a lot of fitness retreats, but I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong places, but I didn't find a lot of freedom retreats. So retreats where you don't have a crazy schedule, or it's not all about fitness, and there's a lot of free time. I found a lot of them to a tight schedule, and that is just not, I'm not like that in my daily life. Sometimes honestly having to be at a gym class at 6 p.m. stresses me out, because it means I have to plan my whole day around that. I don't know if anybody else's brain works like that, but mine does. Harry Stebbins has got a podcast called 20VS, and there's an episode on there with Scooter Braun, and I listened to it. A, it's so interesting, but B, he said that he does a week every year. He does an organised retreat, but he does a week every year just completely switching his phone off, and he said that the benefits of it are insane. And so I listened to it and I thought, why don't I just create my own retreat? So I did. So I did loads of research and I found a stunning hotel in Ireland that I wanted to go to. 5-star, super luxury, so I got all of that vibe. I got the nice healthy food, I got the spa, but it meant I just did it on my own. So I flew to Cork, hired a car, it was an hour away. It was honestly stunning. It was like a little hotel on a cliff near a door. There was nothing there. The closest shop was a half-an-hour drive, which was perfect for me. About 20 bedrooms in this hotel, and it was super cute, quite old school and just really nice. And so I went with my notepad, I went with 2 books and all of my gym stuff and like tracksuits and just comfies and walking stuff, and I just had 5 days of pure heaven. And why I wanted to go was, obviously I spoke about being burnt out in the beginning bit, but I just felt like, I talk a lot about being authentic and I've got so many opinions and thoughts about being authentic, but I just felt like something wasn't right, like something was off. I wasn't really enjoying myself, I wasn't happy with where my life was at, and so I needed change. And I didn't realise how much I needed change, but I did realise that I did need change. And so I went away and yeah, was just myself. I took loads of questions that I wanted to ask myself, like, who am I, what do I stand for, what am I about, what do I want, what do I need to change, what do I like about my life, what don't I like about my life. And then I've spoken about the categories before, but I wrote questions about all of those categories, and I promised myself that I had to go deep and I had to be honest. And I just, like, genuinely, I filled like half a notepad in just writing. And what comes out, this is why I love journaling so much, what comes out when you do stuff like that is like on the revelations. I was writing and I was like, what the fuck, this is mental, like the actualizations and realizations that I were having. So honestly, if anyone is feeling like a bit lost or just a bit heavy, like they don't know what they're doing, or something's just a bit off kilt, like go away and switch off. It sounds so counterproductive to go away and switch off, but honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever done for myself. Genuinely, it's put so much into perspective. I'm gonna go on quickly. I'm conscious of how much I'm like rabbiting on, but I'm gonna go on quickly to what I learned and what I gained from it, because honestly, I have come back a new girl. I've just come back with a completely different perspective on myself, which is so important, but also on my life and how I'm living and my priorities. So yeah, I'm just going to run through like the top things that I learned and why I thought it was beneficial, because wow, it's a lot. I'm genuinely so glad I did it. Firstly, I came home with so much clarity on myself, on who I am, on my own narrative, on my situation and the situations that I get myself into, and why I've been in those situations and the situations that I want to avoid, and genuinely just feel like a lot closer and reconnected to myself. And the reason for that is I wrote, like I journaled every day, just a free journal, but then I also wrote, like, I answered questions like, what is my confidence like? What's my relationship with food like? What's my relationship with work like? What is my relationship with dating like? What's my relationship with my family? What's my relationship with myself? What's my relationship with the gym? What do I like about my home? What don't I like about my home? What do I like about my life? What don't I like about my life? So because I went so deep and I wrote until I literally had no more left to give. Like I wrote until, one, my hand was killing, and two, until my brain was purely empty, like it had nothing left to say. And so because I did that and I went quite hard on it, I realised so much about myself and who I am, and that in return gives you clarity and it makes you really clear on next steps. It highlights the things you really like about yourself and the things that you really love about yourself. It highlights the realities about yourself, but it also highlights the things that you don't really like about your life or you don't like about yourself. It's okay to notice things that you don't love about yourself. Like, that's fine. None of us are ever going to be perfect. But it just allows you to highlight the highs, the in-betweens and the lows, so that you can really hone in on things that you like about yourself and the things that you like doing and the people that you like to spend your time with, and then really look at the things that kind of drain your energy, or the people or the situations or the scenarios or financial stuff that drains your energy, and so that you can act on them. And yeah, just I came home with like, fuck me, I know who I am. Like, I genuinely know who I am. I feel so close to myself and so reconnected with myself, and it's actually made me feel a lot more confident in who I am. And I mean, if you read in between the lines of these videos, I can live in my head quite a lot, and I can you know, I'm confident and I know who I am, and I do all of these things because I want to help people, and I've come such a long way. But I still have bouts of doubt of, am I in the right place at the right time? Like, am I doing the right things? Did I just say something to piss somebody off? Like, I am a human being, and so it's just, I've just come back with a lot more clarity on who I am, on my life, the direction I want to go in, and a lot more energy, really. Actually, a lot more self-love, like a lot more self-respect. And so that's a huge bonus in itself. This one is huge. I genuinely, for the past, I don't even know however many years, I have been telling myself and talking to myself in an outdated narrative. I mean, you can tell by the video, but like, I can't put into words how shocked and surprised I was about this when I realised it. And it might, like, if you're watching this, and you might be watching it thinking, shut the fuck up, but also there's so many people out there that will be doing the same thing and not realising it. I was talking to myself as if I was the 15-year-old girl I was 18 years ago, and I genuinely can't believe that I was doing this. Like, I was telling myself that I was overweight, that other people are better than me. I was in a comparison with everyone and his dog. Like, I was telling myself that I can't do certain things. I was just talking to myself in such a negative way. And again, you can be doing all of these things and still be making progress, because I have made so much progress. But I didn't quite realise that I was telling myself that I wasn't confident, that I am not good at my job. I was telling myself that I'm overweight. I was telling myself that I can't do certain things in the gym, when actually I spoke about it a lot last week in the confidence video. Actually, I can do all of those things because I do them. Like, I live and breathe them every single day. I'm super confident. Like, I've got a great relationship with my food now. I've actually got an amazing relationship with my body now. I've got a really healthy relationship with the gym. I've got a healthy relationship with my family. Like, all of this stuff that I was telling myself was from me 10, 15 years ago. And so it wasn't true. So what I was actually doing, and what I've been doing for the longest amount of time, which is why I can feel like shit sometimes, and you might be doing this. So this is why I'm being super honest and vulnerable and telling you, because I think it's such an easy fix to just go deep and figure out who you actually are today. Because I think when you change a lot, I've struggled with this a little bit actually, when you change a lot, whether it's, you know, losing drastic amounts of weight, or changing your personality traits, or doing a lot of self-development and inner work, you do grow. And it is hard sometimes to let go of the old you, but you have to be really conscious to not talk to yourself in an outdated language from a person that you aren't anymore. Like, I genuinely, well, I know that people change because I have, drastically. And so I was telling myself that I was like aggressive and argumentative and confrontational, and I wasn't being like that. I was just telling myself that. And so the negative connotations I had with myself were A, crazy, and B, so unrealistic and far from the truth, that it's now allowed me to like unveil my true self, which sounds ridiculous because I have been living as that girl. It just, in my head, it's just been a very different story. And genuinely, I can't believe I didn't even realise this before, but it's allowed me to like unveil and drop that mask and let go of that old version of myself. And I genuinely have come back feeling so much more whole, so much more content and at peace and happy with who I am. I was always telling myself that I was like not happy and not content and not where I needed to be, when actually, when I've stopped and looked at the reality, I'm a lot happier than I ever give myself credit for. I'm a lot more further on in my journey, both personally and professionally, than I was ever giving myself credit for, which is ridiculous. And I'm a lot more content and genuinely at peace in who I am. And so that in itself is so beneficial to realise. But yeah, it's been a really refreshing part of growth and part of the journey, because I was really living in a heavy way that I didn't even realise I was doing, to be honest. This next one I feel like a lot of people will resonate with. I was running in a popularity contest that I didn't even know I was a part of. Like, I was comparing myself to everybody else, people I saw on social media, people who I saw at work, friends that I thought were doing better than me, people I would see in the street that I didn't even know. Like, I was, and I knew I was comparing myself. We all do, like, we're all human, but I didn't realise how much. I also had an idea in my head of the life that I wanted to have, and then I wrote it all down, and then I asked myself, do I want this? Or is this what I'm seeing other people doing on social media, for example? And I don't even know if it's true or not. And I'm telling myself that that's the way I want to live, when actually, if I had all of that, would that make me any happier than I am today? And the answer to that question was no. So I was striving for things and outcomes and situations and scenarios and goals in my head that I didn't actually even want. And so I was putting so much pressure on myself from external sources to achieve these high highs, when actually I'm really okay with where I'm at. I'm actually more than okay with where I'm at. I was running in a race, when actually, if I run after those things and have them and get them and obtain them and work so hard for them, and then feel completely underwhelmed because it's actually not what I wanted, I would so much more rather have that realisation now than in 3, 4, 5 years time, when I've chased something from vanity and got it, and then felt completely underwhelmed and shit about myself when I have it because it's not actually what I wanted. You hear that a lot, don't you? I used to listen to Stephen Bartlett a lot, and he talks loads, and the guests that he has on are obviously all really successful, and he talks loads on there about people reaching millionaire status or billionaire status, or they get the house they want, or the car they want, or the woman they want, and then they get there and they feel so empty and so alone. And it's because they're chasing something that, I don't know if they don't want it or not, but they're chasing something, and the high that they're expecting is never actually what it is, because you get high from being at peace, from being happy, from being content, from feeling fulfilled, from spending time with people that you love. Like, I'm not a materialistic girl. Like, I don't get great satisfaction from like a Chanel handbag. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love a Chanel handbag, but I don't get great satisfaction from it. And so the things, it's really put into perspective the way that I want to live my life, the way that I'm living it already. There are some things I want to change, but also the things that make me feel content and make me feel happy and make me feel fulfilled, and to stop chasing after those things that I don't even know if I want. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's silly, but we all do it. So that was a massive, massive realization, and something that I am so glad that I've become aware of so that I can stop doing it. I hadn't actually planned to talk about this next one, but the way I was living my life was, I just wasn't moving with loads of direction. Like, I would spend a lot of time like going on huge walks and listening to podcasts, and actually I think part of me was a little bit lost, and I think that came from looking around and feeling incomparable to other people, like feeling like I wasn't doing enough or living my life in a productive way, when actually what I was doing was procrastinating, when I was like going on the long walks and listening to the podcast, or spending 2 hours watching, I don't know, a Stephen Bartlett episode or whatever. Like, I was procrastinating, and I didn't realize that I was doing that. And so I just wanted to add that in, because I won't go on and on about it because I didn't actually plan to talk about it, but I feel like a lot of people again will do it. Like, I think we're in a time where we're so exposed and we're so pressured, and actually it's hard to feel like fulfilled in who you are and the way that you live your life and the things that are in your life and where you're at in your life. that you can procrastinate on life, and that's wasting time, that's scrolling on social media, that's, I don't know, watching crap TV, or just not being productive and not filling your time. And it's not about not resting. Like, I've been reading so much. Like, I've just been coming home from work and reading for hours, which is amazing. But I think you don't realise sometimes that you're just wasting hours of your life because you don't know what to do, because you're feeling unfulfilled, when actually, if you take a step back and look at your life and figure out how fulfilled it is, and if it's not, what can you do to make it feel more fulfilled, then you'll stop wasting hours of your life just like nomading around because you don't know what to do with yourself. Another thing that I learned massively is I was failing because of my processes. Like, I had to-do lists for to-do lists, and it meant that I either never stopped and never sat down and never gave myself a break, or I would ignore the list because I'd feel so pissed off with it and so pressured because I'd never sat down, never switched off and never took a break, that I felt like I was failing because the list was still there and it wasn't being ticked off. Does anyone else do that? Like, I have lists at work for my daily life, and I think that's fine, and they're productive and they don't really stress me out. But I also had lists for my personal life, which now I've had this realisation, I'm like, this is ridiculous that I had all of these lists. And it wasn't like silly things, but it would be like food shop, or remember to post on Instagram, or record the video for today, for example, or I would actually put like clean the flat on there. Like, I just had lists, or reply to my WhatsApps because I'm a bit useless on WhatsApp. But like, I just had constant lists, and I thought at the time, like, well, I've had them for years, to be honest. I thought I was being super productive by like having all of these things in my life. But again, I probably just watched one too many self-help videos or self-development videos, or read too many books, or saved one too many posts on Instagram. And I was trying to live in such structure when actually it was being so detrimental to me and my mental health, and how the freedom that I was giving myself. And I'd tell myself that I couldn't do certain things because I had to do something else. Like, I don't know, if I wanted to amend something on my website, or I wanted to plan out my personal brand or something like that. And I'm quite productive outside of like my Monday to Friday 9 to 5, because I do a lot, I run a lot of channels, and I'm quite active in my career. And so there's always something to do, but there always is going to be things to do. And I was just massively failing at my life. Well, I wasn't, but my life was becoming such a process and such a structure. And like I said, I don't live like that. And so they weren't making me happy. They were making me fucking miserable. And it was so unproductive to have them. When it's funny, because I thought having stuff like that would always be so productive and it would help me move further. And actually, it did the complete opposite. It was making me so restricted. It was meaning I couldn't have freedom or happiness or flexibility in my life. And so you will be pleased to know that the lists have fully gone. They are no more. I don't know how I'm going to remember things, but I honestly feel like since I came home, I honestly feel like a weight has been completely lifted off of my shoulders. And I can do what the hell I want, which is ridiculous because I put that in place, and you might be doing that too. Like, you might tell yourself that you need to do this morning routine or an evening routine, and it's not working for you. And I think the thing is to recognise when things aren't working and when things are, and remove and pull back on some of the things that aren't working, because all they will be doing is holding you back. There is honestly so much more that I have learned about myself, and just the way I feel about myself is completely different to how I felt about myself when I went, and how I've been feeling about myself for the last few months. I feel a lot lighter. I feel a lot happier, a lot more content. I feel so much closer to myself than I did before, and I feel like I can just give myself a break, and I just like myself a lot more than what I did when I went. And so because I feel like that, and because I have come home with so much clarity and knowing what I want and next steps without all of the pressure of overloading myself, both personally and professionally, I feel like I can move forward with so much more direction and so much more objective than what I was doing before, which essentially is a better quality of life, isn't it? I genuinely feel like I've shed. I actually wrote a note in my diary and said, like, I feel like phase 2 is done. Phase 1 was growing up. It was a mess. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. Phase 2 has been deep figuring myself out, self-growth, really learning who I am and getting out of that girl who was aggressive, who was insecure, who was sad, who was lonely, who was upset. And I feel like I've come out of the other side, but I didn't realise that until this trip. And you don't realise how far you've come until you genuinely stop and think about it. I wrote in my diary, phase 2 is done, and I feel like I've been able to let go of a lot of the things and the narratives and the person that I was holding on to. I feel like I've been able to let her go, and I genuinely feel so much lighter and so much more free than I did this time 2 weeks ago, and it's genuinely been such a revelation. Since I've been home, like, even the way I live and where I live, I've totally decided to move out of the city and have a slower pace of life and be more directional and make big decisions that I've needed to make for a long time and not really realised it, but actually make decisions that will improve my life. And it's risky, like, it's scary, big change is scary, but because I've just spent a week like really connecting to myself, I know exactly what I want to do next, which is amazing, because it's really hard, like, you'll probably resonate with this, it's really hard to sometimes know what to do next, and it's scary, and change is daunting, but I've come home being able to make some really big decisions, and so it was genuinely so beneficial to me. I've also come home feeling a lot more established, like, I know I've said it a lot, but knowing exactly who I am, feeling a lot more confident in who I am. Respect, I feel like I've got so much more self-respect. I genuinely, it's been a week since I've been home, and I have had the most productive, content, happy, fulfilled week I think I've probably ever had. It's the least I've done in a long amount of time. Like, I've just got myself into a great routine, and I'm going to try my utmost to continue it and carry it on, but move forward with flexibility and freedom, and allow myself to have fun and enjoy myself and live life happier, because I realise now that I was holding myself back quite a lot. And so genuinely, if you relate to anything that I've said about, like, feeling a bit stuck or feeling a bit like something's not right or feeling frustrated with yourself or your life, and you're trying, but there's things that aren't changing, I genuinely highly recommend going away, like switching your phone off for 5 days, just focusing on you, like, live your life in a way that you would if you had no outside world, and I promise you the things that you will get from it are genuinely revelational. Like, it will change your life, because that's what these things do, that's what change does, it does change your life. This for me will be the way that my life now starts to propel forward, and I'm so excited. I highly recommend a week of switch off. I think it is, it's just something great to do for you and to put yourself first, which is, you know, it's what we talk about here, isn't it? It's what I talk about on the channel, and it's what I feel super passionately about. So yeah, definitely recommend if you're feeling any type of way. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have found value in it. I hope you resonate with it, and I hope you take something away from it that is helpful, because that is kind of the point of doing these videos. So thank you so much, and I will see you here next week.